I'm Dave Foster. This is
Glenn Heinrichs.
And this is our presentation. So our Rattler Plan is focusing and strengthening foundational skills, and we're looking at learning habits. Are we going to have an impact on grade 8 student success? And we want to make sure that we're in line with their district and with focusing on literacy and numeracy and connections. We've done that. And probably you're thinking in your head now, why are you focusing on this grade 8s? And why are you focusing on this? So I'm going to answer that question for you. Looking at grade 7, when they at the elementary school, we're looking at the proficiency scale in 2 areas, literacy and numeracy. We start with literacy here. Kids are around 60% in their proficiency level, leaving elementary school. And then when they come to high school, we see a significant drop in proficiency level. We're looking at lower numbers. We're looking at 57 to 56% in proficiency for those kids. Even when we go into grade 9, you can see another drop in the proficiency level of those students in their school. And then if we keep going and we look at some literacy assessment, looking at provincial, we are below provincial average in our assessment, basically. But we're not when we hit grade 12, which is interesting. The last couple of years, we're actually doing it a bit better than provincial average. Then we look at numeracy. And this is some report card data at the elementary school, some improvement over the years, 61, 64, and when we left, 73%. And then we look at the drop. So we're going almost 20% down in our proficiency levels in numeracy. And then we look at Math 9, 40 to 50% of kids. So half kids are not proficient. Why is that? What's going on? Right? How can we make a difference for those kids? And then we're looking at our numeracy. Well, it's not good at progress as well, but some low levels in our proficiency assessments. And then we started to do some digging in our scanning. Part of the scanning that we're doing is asking kids, what can the school or staff do differently to support your learning? What do you wish for? So shift away from tests, more science lab projects, go over test assignments with further explanation. So after, make sure we understand what we missed and what we didn't understand in our learning. If it's evidence that a class is struggling on a topic, give more time, extra practice before assessing. Study guides are helpful. They like to listen to music in the ear, but we don't allow that. And then more support outside of the classroom. So we dove into our inquiry process, and we're going to talk about this.
So what we did at the beginning of the year is we reviewed the spirals of inquiry with the staff, and then we took time to analyze data and uncover the themes. Thanks to Data Dave. I have to stop and say, on the first meeting, Dave referred to himself as Data Dave, and then at the second meeting, he referred to himself as Data Dave again, and then staff went, oh, it's Data Dave, not Data Dave.
Who's your dad?
Oh, we're so glad. You guys know what referred to as Data. Okay. Anyway, so what we did is we uncovered some themes from the data that we looked at, and the inquiry leaders took over at that point, and they categorized the themes into focus areas. They ended up having 4 focus areas. Staff then each chose a group to join. Each inquiry leader was responsible for one group. An emphasis was placed on research and discovery. That's been one of my pet peeves all the time, is that we move so fast into action and we don't stop and just what is the research out there. So we did a much better job this year, I think, of slowing that process down and looking at what's available out there. So groups were challenged to resist the urge to jump into action, and as you'll see, we didn't. The end result is that each group has an action plan for September. So OSS will hit the ground running from day 1 without me. So what were the 4 areas? The 4 areas were literacy and numeracy, connections, learning habits, and being a rattler. So the first one, literacy and numeracy. So we are going to implement next year, or he is, literacy 8 and numeracy 8 class in first semester. So all grade 8s, they're not going to have English and math, they're going to have literacy and numeracy first semester to boost their skills, and then they're going to have English 8 and math 8 in the second semester. So this year we had Math Boost 8 and 9. The students were selected based on students who were struggling in math, but this is going to be for all students that are going to take it. We're going to do the nonfiction reading assessment and numeracy assessment to help guide our instruction. There's going to be skill building in reading, writing, and numeracy. We're going to make sure we catch up students up who have lagging skills, and we also, because we're doing all their grade 8s, if they are really strong in English and math, we also want to make sure that they get a chance to be enriched in those classes. And we want to make sure that it's fun for the kids. So that's our literacy and numeracy group. Our connections group. We have had a leadership class in the past. We're starting it up again next year. There's 40 students who are signed up. So we are going to partner up our grade 8s with grade 8s with leadership students. So they'll all have buddies to work with. We're going to continue with strong adult connections. We have really strong adult connections at OSS, but we want to continue that. And activities to build relationships and belonging throughout the year. So the leadership class is going to take responsibility for that and make sure we have those activities all year long. Next is learning habits. So part of Literacy 8 and Numeracy 8, of course, will be executive functioning skills, organizational skills, learning skills, navigating learning resources, ways to demonstrate learning, time management, and core competencies and goal setting. So what you're seeing is there's literacy and numeracy. We're going to focus on that. But within literacy and numeracy, this third group is bringing these things into that program. So that's also going to be part of our literacy and numeracy 8 courses. Go.
I just got to mention that Sarah is one of our literacy 8 teachers. You should know that this is what she's been teaching.
I'm frantically taking notes.
You have your expertise and we're putting you into this to help us support the literacy 8 program. So we're excited, Sarah. So thanks.
No pressure.
All right, and the last group was being a rattler. So what we're going to do in September is that there's going to be 2 days that the grade 8s don't go to class. They don't have any classes. It's just grade 8s working with our leadership class. And that group has developed a curriculum, a 2-day curriculum specifically for the grade 8s on how to be a rattler. So the things they need to know to help being successful at OSS. Routines, expectations, who are the staff, how to use technology, how do you get technology, hygiene, where do you get help, tips and tricks. So we're going to consistently refer back to the characteristics of a rattler throughout the year. So we want them to know right at the beginning, here's the expectations we have for you, here's how we operate around here, so that you can navigate through high school.
So how are we going to check? Well, we need student voice. Right after we start implementing this, we need student voice. So we're looking at some executive functioning, especially the engagement of those students in the courses as they transition into the high school. Literacy and Numeracy 8, looking at those assessments, math and reading assessments. A shift in English and math results. We want to see more proficiency of these kids, and we want to see that trend go upward with checking that all the time. And our provincial marks as well, and some anecdotal evidence are having made a difference for those kids in that way. And last, which is I think is really important, and it's kind of going into our next step, the change practice and pedagogy for our teachers. I'll talk a little bit about that in the next steps. So we're going to go deeper with this, with our inquiry, and we may not go in the same direction because we're going to implement this quickly. But what I think is really important is a third thing, teacher pedagogy. You know, it's all good that we're going to try all these things, we're going to do all these things, but how can we teach differently? It's kind of like the hunch piece. What are we doing to contribute to this problem? Next year, I'm going to be a Science 8 teacher. I'm going to be part of that grade 8 team. Now, it's been 16 years since I've taught science, right? Science 8. And so, am I going to teach the same way I did 16 years ago? No way, right? A lot has changed. Curricular competencies, core competencies, all these things, spaces, right? I'm super excited. I'm going to be part of this team, and we're going to have some conversations. How's it going with that Literacy 8 class, Sarah? How things going? How's it going with the Numeracy 8 class? How are they gaining this executive function skill? We're going to meet on a regular basis. We're going to talk about pedagogy. I'm going to talk about my experience as a Science 8 teacher in that. And then we're going to have those conversations and hopefully make some changes for those kids. And of course, Indigenous ways of knowing. And that's it.